Hey kids, welcome back to some more science. Science is cool. We are starting a new unit on insects. Insects are bugs, all kinds of bugs, but not all bugs are insects. Insects are a type of bug that have a very certain set of characteristics, things they share, things that are alike. They have exoskeletons, meaning they don't have a skeleton on the inside of their body like people do. Their skeleton comes in the form of a hard shell on the outside of their body. Insects have 3 sets of legs, meaning they have 6 legs. Spiders have 8 legs. Therefore, they're not technically insects. They are bugs, but they're not insects. They're part of a group called arachnids. Insects have antennae. Insects have 2 sets of wings. Insects have 3 main body types: their head, their thorax, and their abdomen, which is like their tail end. Some insects are helpful to people. They pollinate our flowers or our crops. Some insects are harmful. They eat all our food. Another little cool fact about insects is the baby insect does not look anything like the adult insect. Like when people have babies or bats have babies, the little bats look like big bats and the little baby humans look like big humans. But insects have to metamorphosize. They change. They usually start off in some kind of grub state, kind of like this little ugly little wormy thing, and then it pupates, it changes into something else. The most famous, of course, being a butterfly. But other insects change as well. So for this next series of videos, we are going to learn about different kinds of insects. We are going to start off our discussion with bees, wasps, and hornets. Ah! Bees, wasps, and hornets, you're probably thinking, I don't like those things, they sting. Well, I'm here to hopefully change your mind about some of this stuff. I can tell you that hornets and wasps are not always so nice. We need to leave them alone. But bees are actually super nice, and they will leave you alone if you leave them alone. But how do you know which is which? Well, in this lesson, we are going to learn the difference between bees, ding, which are super great and awesome and nice, and wasps and hornets, leave them alone, not so great. We're going to learn to tell the difference between them. It's actually pretty easy if you know what you're looking for. After learning some cool facts and watching a super silly bee movie, you're going to make your very own little bee art project and flower. And while there is no cooking snack for this lesson, you could certainly have a theme snack with honeycomb cereal. They look like little honeycombs, see, like bees make. You could even get some raisins to be your bees. So let's get started learning about bees and hornets and wasps, because bees and hornets and wasps are cool and science is cool. So let's start off learning about bees. I've got a book here to teach us some super interesting facts. Amazing bees. Our bee friends. Bees are amazing. They help flowers make fruits and seeds. They give us sweet honey, so let's find out what makes bees so special. What is a bee? A bee is an insect. Like all insects, it has 6 legs. It has a body made up of 3 parts. It has 2 pairs of wings. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A bumblebee beats its wings so fast it makes a buzzing sound. Close-up view. Let's zoom in close. A bee has a hairy body and face. It has 2 big eyes and 3 little ones. It has a very, very long tongue. On its legs, there are little baskets to collect yellow pollen. All of these features help a bee do its job. From egg to bee. A bee starts life as a tiny egg inside of a wax cell. A white grub called a larva hatches from the egg. Now the larva must eat and eat and eat and grow fatter and fatter until it turns into a pupa. It sleeps for a long time. When it wakes up, an adult bee flies out. Amazing bee facts. Bee math. Honeybees build honeycombs with perfect 6-sided cells. Bees must visit 2 million flowers to make 1 jar of honey. A worker bee makes about 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. Ouch! A bee will only sting if you disturb it, and only the female bees, the girl bees, have a stinger. Bees and flowers. A bee is a flower's best friend. It helps the flower make seeds to make more flowers. It also helps the flower make the fruits and the crops that we eat. The flower has food for the bee: sugary nectar and powdery pollen. Sweet nectar. A bee smells the flower and flies to it. It lands on a petal looking for the sweet, sugary juice. The bee uncurls its long tongue and dips it deep inside the flower. Sip, sip, sip. Sucks up the nectar. Petal signposts. Bees see colors very differently from you and me. They can see blues and purples, yellows and oranges. These are usually their favorite color. They can also see extra colors with their eyes. Sometimes the petals have markings that only a bee can see, like those two flowers there. They are signposts for bees. This way, to a sweet treat, we see the yellow, they see the purpley blue one. Spreading pollen. A bee may visit more than 50 flowers during one trip. As the bee flies from flower to flower, pollen sticks to its hairy body. The bee combs some of the pollen into the baskets on its legs, and some of the pollen sticks to the bee's hairy body. When the bee flies to other flowers, this pollen brushes off. Bee dancing. Bees are great dancers. They dance to tell other bees the news. This round dance, a bee dances in a circle. It means that there's food close by. Waggle dance. A bee dances in a figure 8 shape. There's a waggle in the middle, and it tells the other bees the way to the nectar. Bee families. The honeybee lives in a big family group. Each bee has its own special jobs to do. Beekeepers provide a home for the bees called a beehive. They can keep their bees safe and collect the honey. Beekeepers always leave enough honey for the bees to eat. Who's in the hive? The biggest bee of all is the mother bee, called the queen. Her job is to lay eggs. Next in size are the drones, the male bees. All the rest of the bees are females. They're girls. They're the worker bees. Busy bees. The worker bees are busy all day. Some look after the baby bees, the larvae. They make a special food called royal jelly for the larvae. Some look after the queen, feeding her royal jelly and grooming her. Other workers guard the nest. They keep it clean and build new cells, while others fly out of the hive to find nectar and pollen. Wild bees. Wild honeybees can build their nests in a hollow tree, in a cave, or under a roof. They build a nest with wax cells. They make honey and store it for the winter. There are now fewer numbers of bees in the wild. This is sad news. All about honey. When a bee brings nectar back to the nest, it passes the nectar to another bee. This bee chews the nectar and turns it into honey. The bees store the honey in wax cells that make up the honeycomb. Honey is the only food made by insects that we can eat. Bee spotting. Not all bees live in big groups like the honeybee. Some bees live alone and build their own special nests. Some bees build their nests in a crack in the wall or a hole in the ground. They lay their eggs and leave them to hatch. Garden bees. One of the first bees you will see in the spring is the bumblebee. They are hairy and striped, and they are bigger than honeybees. Bumblebees live in small family groups. They live in nests in the ground or in piles of dead leaves, which I did not know. Be a friend to bees. Bees are very important in helping plants make the food we eat. We can help bees by planting flowers in a pot or a window box. Why not leave a patch of wildflowers to grow in a garden, at home, or at school? The end. So those were some honeybee and bumblebee facts. I don't have a book on wasps, so we're just going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the ways they're similar and the ways they're different from bees. First of all, to tell the difference physically, looking at it, it's not really that hard. Book mentioned that honeybees are fuzzy. Wasps are not. If you look at a wasp, not that you should get too close to one, they don't look all that much like bees. Bees are more rounded on their backside. They're kind of more brown and definitely fuzzy. Wasps have sort of a harder looking shell on their backside, a little more black and yellow. The colors are more vibrant, and it's just shinier look, not so fuzzy. I think the easiest way, however, to tell whether you're looking at a bee or wasp is, where are you? Honeybees feed only on nectar. We learned that from our story. They get their food for their babies from flowers. Wasps, on the other hand, are meat eaters. They're predators. What kind of meat? Are there little tiny cows that these little guys are going after? No, the kind of meat they eat are other insects. Adult wasps can be found buzzing around some flowers because the adults do go for sugars. The babies, they feed the meat. The adults will do nectar. But a lot of times when we see wasps, they are buzzing around other sources of sugar, mainly your garbage or your picnic. They're kind of scavengers. They'll take the food wherever they can get it. So if you're sitting around having a picnic and you've got some apple juice or watermelon or other sugary food like that, it's not so uncommon to see some kind of little black and white buzzy friend. That is not a honeybee. Honeybees will not go after your food. Those are wasps and hornets. To be more specific, those are probably yellow jackets. And those guys are not nice. So if you've got those buzzing around your site, just back away. Quite honestly, we're outside when we're having our picnics. That's where they live. It's a bummer, but we have to sort of expect that sort of thing. You will also find these yellow jackets buzzing around garbage cans. When people throw away their food, that's an easy source of food for these guys, so they'll go rummage around in the garbage can looking for stuff too. Now, the thing about wasps is they do make some really, really cool hives. We saw in that book that the bees make these honeycomb hives and fill them with honey. The wasps, like the paper wasps, make these totally awesome hives. Although, amazingly enough, after doing all this work, the next year, they don't use it again. They make another one. Seems like a wasted effort to me. What's not always awesome is they tend to make them in overhanging places like, right outside your garage or your front door. Or if you're at school, they might build them inside a little hole on the slide. That's not so awesome. If you see a hive like that looks like this, go tell a grown-up, because somebody needs to take care of that hive before it gets too big. And just taking away the hive and throwing it over the fence, for example, doesn't solve the problem. Those hornets and wasps will keep coming back looking for their house. They have no clue where that house went, and they'll just keep searching. You actually need to spray it with something so they know that it's not there anymore. Now that we learned all about bees, wasps, and hornets, let's watch a silly music video.
Take a look and see how I'm giving it up for the hive. Everything I do is just an effort to keep it strong and alive. We all used to be these little larvae, just a bunch of little wormy dudes without a thing to do. We just ate and grew while the worker bees brought us our food. Then yabba dabba dooba, I was a super duper goober, chilling in my honeycomb cell. A metamorphosis and I was all of this, a worker bee with this tale to tell. There was a lot to do, and so I got right to doing my part for the hive. I took a turn feeding the little larvae, eating bee bread to help them grow and thrive. And when it got hot, we fan our wings a lot. We were the air conditioning guys. We were buzzing by the dozen, and we wouldn't if it wasn't all for the good of the hive. It's all about the hive. It's all about the hive. We want to stay alive, so we take care of our hive. Squad, turning nectar into honey first rate. I take the nectar from the collectors when they fly back and regurgitate. The nectar's too watery, and so I gotta be fanning my wings all day long. Water evaporates, or when we ventilate, we get it concentrated and strong. Then we seal it in the honeycomb, food for the whole home. We help the whole hive to survive. And if you want the honey, honey, you gotta take care of the hive. It's all about the hive. Out, piling a nectar to find such a pretty sight, flowers blooming bright to tell me that it's dinner time. I grab it to go back to the honeycomb. I know the secret to survive. If you wanna take care of the me, you gotta take care of the hive. It's all about the hive. It's all about the hive. We wanna stay alive, so we take care of our hive. It's all about the hive. It's all about the hive. Take care of your hive.
Now, I actually like little bees and honeybees. I think they're really cute and they don't bother me at all. But a lot of people are really, really scared of these insects. In fact, here's a book about a little girl who's scared of bees.
Kaya and the Bees by Maribeth Boltz, illustrated by Angela Dominguez. Kaya and the Bees. I'm the brave type, like the hottest, hot pepper brave, and furry spider in the basement brave. But one thing super scares me. Bees. Bees have stingers. Once I stepped on a bee barefoot and it stung me. And right now, thousands of bees live on our roof. Bees, bees, so many bees. There is my roof and there are hives. Dad says honeybees are dying and scientists don't exactly know why. Dad reads bee books and talks about bees nonstop. Fruits and vegetables need to be pollinated to grow, he says. I crunch an apple. Bees pollinated that apple. How about blueberries? Those too, he says. The world needs bees, and that's why we are beekeepers. But he only goes on the roof with the beehives, not me. And the kids in my building, I go on and on to them like I'm the beekeeper, and oh man, they listen. But I get twisty inside because I am not exactly. Then the days turn hot. We're all playing in the hydrant water, and who shows up? A bee. It circles my head, it buzzes in my ear, and it lands, ready, right on my arm. I'm crazy, screaming and waving. You're a liar, Marcella says. Hector laughs and says real beekeepers don't freak out over one little bee. I go inside mad and stompy, and I grab my suit and gloves from the closet. I want to see the bees, I say. Oh, Dad says. Well, let's go check on them right now. Dad zips up my suit, and I put on my hood, gloves, and boots until every jittery inch of me is covered head to toe to fingertip. I follow behind Dad up the stairs, and he pushes open the door. There on the roof, beehives. Bees crawl in and out of the little hole. Some bees have bright orange and yellow puffs stuck to their legs. They're carrying pollen, Dad says, and he pries open the lid. All of the sudden, bees are everywhere, a flying, buzzy, zipping cloud. My hands shoot up to swat. Dad means business. Stay still, Kaya. Breathe. But I hold my breath. Dad pulls a frame from the hive box. Both sides are covered in crawling, wiggling bees. He studies the frames one at a time. Then he pulls a frame out and holds it out for me to take. Me, the liar or the brave girl? My head is soaked with sweat. I blink hard. I reach. And here I am, scared to death, but holding 1,000 bees, maybe more, between my own two hands. The bees are electric, buzzing, buzzing, and I'm electric too. Let's find the queen, Dad says. I hunt, and then I spot her. Dad gives me a thumbs up. So far, so good. Bees are perched on sticks floating in their water tub. I watch them balance and sip, and I can't believe they actually look cute. I add fresh water to the tub. Ugh, wet gloves. I strip it off, grab another stick, and a bee stings my finger. I bawl. Who wouldn't? That bee was alive. It vibrated, and its stinger stuck in my skin. Dad scrapes it off, and I run water over my finger, and what's left is a mad red patch. I am never, ever going near those bees again. Dad does the bee chores alone. He invites me every time, but doesn't push when I say no. One day, Dad says the honey is ready to harvest. I'll help, I say, but no bees, right? We work all day filling the jars and mopping. There's honey on the floor, on the table, on my elbow, on the doorknobs. Who cares? We are laughing about the magic happening right in our kitchen. The honey flows, and I want to draw a picture, but no crayon is that golden, and you can't draw the smell of warm, sweet honey filling our apartment. It's a mystery, isn't it? Dad says. I feel it too. That a bee, just a bitty insect with one stinger, 2 pairs of wings and 6 hairy legs, can make honey. While Dad goes back on the roof, I lift the honey jar so the sun sparkles through, and I line them up in dreamy on the windowsills. Then I spy something crawling on the curtain. A bee! Wait! 2! I screech, grab a swatter, and wrap myself in a towel like a mummy. I watch every move. Those bees nose from one corner of the glass to the other along its edges like they're hunting. Maybe they don't want to sting me. Maybe they just want a way out, that's all. I put down the swatter. Then I wrestle that creaky old window open just an inch, and the bees fly out. Dad and I go for a walk when the sun is setting. I'll go on the roof again, I tell him. I will, because bees are amazing and scary and mysterious, and we need them. And when I say those bee words and me words and nothing inside of me is twisty, because now something inside me is brave. The end.
Are you ready to make your own little bee and flower? Let's do it.
Our project time.
To make your own little honeybee, you're going to need some pipe cleaners in the colors that you want your bee to be. Honeybees tend to be a little more brown and yellow, yellow jackets, wasps, black and yellow, whatever. I just want to have black and yellow, so those are what I'm going to use. Scissors to cut your pipe cleaner. Some kind of pencil or marker, thin, to wrap your pipe cleaner around. And then tissue paper for your flower, cut into circles or ovals or something roughly about that shape. I chose 2 pinks because I happen to like the color pink. And you're going to need a pipe cleaner for the stem. Normally I'd choose a green for the stem, but green doesn't show up so great on these videos, so I'm going to use yellow for my stem. You can use green for your stem. Let's get started. This is a pretty quick little project. I'm going to start by taking my pencil here, and I'm going to cut my pipe cleaner in half, starting with the black. I'm going to hold the black on my pencil like this, just hold the back end so it doesn't wiggle away. And I'm going to start wrapping. Now I did leave a little piece on the end. That's going to be my stinger, because the stinger is on the back end. And I just wrap it around like that. Next, I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to snip it. And I'm going to start on the back again. This time I'm not going to haul a little piece out because my stinger's not yellow. I'm going to go in between the black. Just like that. And make sure to push that front end down. These pipe cleaners can be a little bit sharp. Squish it together, and then take it off. Now my little bee has a yellow head. You certainly could keep the yellow back a little ways, and then your little bee will have a black head, whichever you want. Here's my little bee with his little stinger. Now do be careful, that stinger is really sharp. Don't go poking your friends with that. Ow, 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 ow. Bzzz. I suppose if you really wanted to, you could glue some little eyeballs on there and some antenna. That'd be really cute. To make our flower is also very simple. I've got 2 circles here. My flower is going to be this size. I chose 2 pinks because I like pink. I want the lighter color to be on the inside, so I'm going to hold that up like that. And then I'm going to stick my finger in the middle. Don't punch it through. And just gather it around my finger on the back side. Like that. Then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner. I'm using a yellow one. You can use a green one or a purple one, whatever color you want it to be. And just wrap it around the end a few times. And make sure that pokey part isn't poking out. And kind of fluff it up a bit. There's your flower. Here's your bee. Well, that's all I have this week on bees, wasps, and hornets. Some pretty cool insects. These little critters are really cool. And science is cool.